Can you hear me?
Hey.
Hello.
There we go. How's everybody doing?
Hey, everybody.
Yeah, welcome to Toronto. Thank you. Guys, I'm Renee Paquette. I'm going to be moderating this panel with these two gentlemen right here. We've got Tony Khan. He is the CEO of All Elite Wrestling, the red hot wrestling promotion that is taking over the world. We love it. He is also the Chief Football Strategy Officer for the Jacksonville Jaguars, as well as the GM and Sporting Director for Fulham FC. And the gentleman just a little bit farther down for me, Julian Maha. He is the founder and CEO of KultureCity, the nation's leading nonprofit for sensory inclusion and acceptance of those with sensory needs and invisible disabilities. How you guys doing?
Good. We're doing great.
Are you on?
Is my mic on?
No, your mic's on. Oh,
I am good? Okay, great. Now I'm good.
There we go.
It's doing great now. It's great to be here. I liked the Collision Festival so much last year. It inspired a show. For wrestling fans out there, we've launched AEW Collision. I spoke here at this same conference last year. I had a really great time, and we thought it would be great to come back with not only the best host in AEW and
I try.
One of the best hosts in all of sports, but also one of the best humanitarians in the world and one of the best doctors in the world, Dr. Julian Maha, who runs a great company, a great group, not-for-profit, called KultureCity that works with now pretty much every sporting league in the world and so many different great people in entertainment. And Julian has done so much great work he can tell you about in terms of making sports and entertainment inclusive.
Yeah, everything that Julian does is so fantastic. I love that AEW has been able to partner up with KultureCity. So, Julian, my first question to you to help to educate everybody, what are sensory needs that led you guys to creating KultureCity?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So it kind of started with my son. My son is going on 16 years old, scary thought, but he is autistic and he's non-speaking. And for him, going to public events was very overwhelming. The lights, the sounds, the crowds, things of that nature would make him, flap his hands, sometimes have negative vocalizations. And because of that, he would get looks from the crowd. And he did not like those looks because we taught him how to type and he would tell us that. So we thought that there had to be a better way. Because sensory needs affect, and invisible disabilities now affect about 1 in 4 individuals in North America today. So it's a growing number. But how do you make sporting events more inclusive to these fans that want to go and engage but can't? And our idea was, how do we change the culture of how they are viewed by a combination of training, app integration, sensory bags, and safe spaces? And that was really kind of the genesis of KultureCity within that, and the help for the sensory inclusive population.
Can you explain what neurodiversity means?
Yeah, it basically means looking at things a different way and experiencing things a different way. So things that we take for granted, for instance, going to an AEW match, where you see the pyro, you see the sounds, the music. For these individuals, they might experience it where instead of filtering that content out, it can actually be physically painful to them.
Yeah.
So on that end, they tend not to engage. So by simple modifications, you can bring them in and make them feel part of the community.
Now, Tony, on your end, of course, working with All Elite Wrestling and Jaguars, Fulham FC, you are familiar with these arenas. You know what those shows can be like. Why did it make the most sense for you to want to partner up with KultureCity?
Well, actually, KultureCity, what they do, it's so incredible, and it can apply to pretty much everywhere we go in life. I think it's possible for people to get overwhelmed, especially at big sporting events or big wrestling matches. So whether it's been NFL playoff games with the Jacksonville Jaguars or the top AEW events, having Julian and KultureCity there to make sure all the fans have a great experience no matter what their needs are, it's been really great for us. I was actually introduced to KultureCity through AEW, but since then we've been able to spread the love of what they do to the Premier League with Fulham Football Club and in the NFL with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
It's so great. I mean, the more that I've been learning about this too, I just think it's so fascinating the way you guys have been able to set up these rooms within the stadiums, in the arenas. Julian, talk to me about the reach that you've had around the world with KultureCity.
Yeah, so it's been pretty amazing, and I was kind of talking to some of the production team backstage, but we're kind of a Collision success story. We've been, with Collision since the first Collision in Vegas, and in the 9 years we've been in existence, currently we're in over 2,000 locations in the US, and we are also in Australia, Canada, the UK, and Japan. And if you're a fan of music and you've heard of the band Coldplay, we actually tour with them at every single site in the world right now.
So cool. Tony, talk to me about how important it is for you to be able to keep things inclusive.
Well, it's really great. I know that I've seen fans firsthand at the AEW shows and at big NFL games. Like I said, the Jags, including our playoff games, home and away, I've seen it. And this year, the NFL Super Bowl was very inclusive, and the teams did a great job making sure they took care of everybody at the event, including people who might get overwhelmed or had special needs. And in wrestling, we go so many different places. We've been doing shows this week here in Toronto. We just did a couple nights at Scotiabank Arena that were amazing, and this has been one of the best weeks we've ever had. And I know there were fans that were able to take advantage of the sensory inclusive rooms and services that Culture City provides at the shows. And now we're going this week, Wednesday and Thursday. This week we'll be close by here in Hamilton, Ontario, nearby. And I see people waving. They're going to be at the shows this week. It's a great time. And thanks to Culture City, we'll be able to accommodate everybody at the show, even people who might not be able to deal with some of the overwhelming visual aspects of pro wrestling, which it can be a very, very visually overloading sport at times. And for some of us, that's great, and we love it. And for other people, that might not be their thing. And I think that's where Julian has come in and really changed the experience for so many people.
And the thing that I love, the more that I've been learning about Culture City as well, is that you don't need to go in with necessarily a diagnosis of this is why I need to be in this room. The rooms are for anybody that might just need a breather to just decompress during these shows, correct?
Yes, that is 100% correct. And I think that's the beauty of AEW. You know, when we first connected with AEW, it was right before the very, very first Double or Nothing. And I think the thing that really stands out is that when they meant AEW wrestling is for everyone, they meant AEW wrestling is for everyone. And I think that's the beauty, you know, with the sheer numbers of people with invisible disabilities, sensory needs, or people just coming out of the COVID shutdown, wanting that break from all the stuff bombarding them. I think it's beautiful to see a company like AEW really reach out and embrace every single fan.
Yeah, it's been a great experience working together. It's been a long time, and it feels like the years have really flown by, but as AEW's grown, almost there from the very beginning. It was actually Cody and Brandy Rhodes who first introduced me to what Julian does. They've moved on to WWE, but the relationship that we've built has been so strong that AEW and Julian have become one thing. Culture City is everywhere we go on the road, so I really appreciate that, but I also appreciated Cody and Brandy, you know, introducing us. Since then, Julian's put together a great event that he hosts every year in Birmingham called the Culture Ball. It's an amazing, amazing thing. Some of the top people from entertainment, some of the top people from sports, and really some of the most impressive people, politics, world leaders, all descend on Birmingham every year, and Julian is an amazing host for this event.
Julian, you spoke initially about why you started Culture City with your sons. Of course, it hits close to home for you, but now having the company in 9 years that you've been up and running in different buildings, stadiums, and whatnot, what does it mean to you when you see people tagging Culture City in the photos? Here I am, I finally got to an event that maybe I didn't think I was going to be able to be a part of. What does that mean for you to see that?
I mean, it's been truly amazing. And I think the beauty is that for us is that when we take our son now to a venue that we did not even know was certified, and they give our son Abram a sensory bag because they recognize that, you know, he potentially might have an invisible disability. I think that's been like the reward in itself. But it's really, really cool to see, you know, from a marketing angle, you know, obviously because we are on a marketing stage, it's been really fascinating to see how to kind of build a brand by staying behind the scenes, which is kind of what Culture City has done. You know, we've built a brand that now if you go to a Super Bowl event, you see us on the Jumbotron, you go to Coldplay, you see us everywhere. But it's been because of the fact that we are able to work with all these amazing brands and provide them a service where they can open up all their events now, you know, to different fans and really kind of have that reach. Yeah.
What shift have you seen in culture with more of the events being inclusive?
I think it's definitely something that's kind of become the gold standard. You know, like recently we started working with AWS to make all their conferences sensory inclusive moving forward. We have a great partnership with South by Southwest. We're there every year. So I think it's something that people are more cognizant, and I think the surprise of organizers of events is that how many people actually use the services. And I think that's been the pretty key, because it's not only the right thing to do from a social good aspect, it's the right thing to do from the financial aspect as well.
And how do people that are looking to find the Culture City rooms track them down? How do we know where we can get in them?
Yeah, I think it's through our app. Our app is the #1 app in the disability space. Download our app. It kind of geolocates to any location around you that we've certified and we've worked with.
So when you go in the rooms, I mean, can we just break down what happens in all the rooms too? Because they quiet everything down. You can dim the lights. There's the beanbag chairs. What all is in the rooms?
So it's a combination of things that can help mitigate any potential noxious stimuli, right? So for instance, if you are aversive to lights, when you come into a room, it's going to be very calm. There's gentle lighting. If you need a tactile thing to kind of calm yourself down, there are tactile elements. There are also visual elements like bubble walls that calm you aesthetically. But the key is that there's a space that you can go away from kind of prying eyes, take a break, decompress, and then come back out and enjoy the event rather than having to leave.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, Tony, AEW is now 4.5 years old, just consistently on the up and ups. As you mentioned, we just added Collision. We've got more shows, more television time, all of these amazing things happening. What are you excited about for the future of AEW?
Well, it's a great time for the company. As you said, we just added another show. In America, we're on TBS and TNT every week. We've got Wednesday nights on TBS, Friday nights on TNT, and now Saturday nights on TNT. And of course, here in Canada, we have a great partner with TSN, where we also have the events now live on Wednesday, and with Collision just being added, that's gotten picked up too on one of the TSN sister stations. So it's pretty cool because, as you said, more TV time, more events. But that also means there's more places we're going, and everywhere we go, we are trying to make it accessible. So it's one of the things that doesn't get talked about every week, and we spend so much time, especially you and me. We are on the road every week, and we do 100 shows a year in different cities all over the world, and we spend so much time talking about who's wrestling who or who's mad at who, and we don't spend a lot of time talking about how we take care of the fans, but it's something we do think about, and we have people that we work with every week that are thinking about that, even when we're trying to plan the next big pay-per-view. Or this year, for example, we're going to Wembley Stadium, and it's a big deal. Thank you. And for those people who do know here, it's been a really successful adventure. It's been something really cool. It was a big swing that we took, and now it is the highest grossing wrestling show in the history of Europe. Wow. It is one of the biggest grossing wrestling shows of all time. And AEW is like a startup company. And if you don't know wrestling, I would explain it as like wrestling probably 5-6 years ago. Imagine a world where imagine wrestling is like the Cola Wars. It would be like if there was Coke and no Pepsi. And what I proposed is, hey, I think we can launch a brand that would be like the Pepsi of pro wrestling, and that's a multi-billion-dollar business. Would you be interested in that? And almost everyone thought that made sense if we could pull it off. We really have, and now the event we're doing over there is actually one of the biggest grossing wrestling events of all time. There's only a couple of the WrestleMania shows that have ever been on this level. This will rank, along with only a couple shows ever, as one of the highest grossing shows in the history of the world. And like you said, we're a company that's 4.5 years old, and we're fighting a company that's been around for dozens and dozens of years, many decades through different iterations. And I think like what we do in the ring and what you do backstage hosting and in the ring hosting and announcing, it's really fun, and we think about that so much. It's cool to be able to come here with Julian, who's a great partner for us 52 weeks a year. And last year I did this show more focusing on the growth of the company, and they asked me about being like the owner of a startup and managing, that business, and being the GM of a Premier League club, or being in charge of football stats for an NFL team, or owning a tech company that's one of the leading providers of engineering and software to support to 25 of the 30 Major League Baseball clubs, including the Blue Jays here in Toronto.
When do you sleep?
As you know, it depends.
my.
I mean, as on the road, there's nights where I don't get much sleep, but then I catch up. Like after the Forbidden Door, I got some sleep the other day, and
like 1 hour.
so it's a great thing. But now in almost everything I do, I actually work really closely with Julian, whether it's NFL or Premier League or in the pro wrestling space with AEW on tour. So I thought it would be really cool to come to Collision with Julian this year and talk about Culture City and all the good things he's doing.
One thing that I've noticed too that's really great, obviously with what you've been able to do with AEW, is the homegrown stars that we have, from Britt Baker, MJF, Tony Starks, Jade Cargill, just to name a few. But I know that they've also been involved in helping to open some of these rooms for Culture City as well. What is it like for you guys to be able to see our talent get so heavily involved in something that really hits home for a lot of people? I know it's important to them.
Yeah, no, it's been amazing. I also think that the personal stories, right? Like a lot of them have talked about themselves having sensory needs, either right now or when they were growing up. Because it's kind of fascinating both ways to see. But I think that's what makes the partnership with AEW so integral, and that's what makes AEW truly for every single fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great to see our wrestlers out in the community in different cities opening these rooms, working with Culture City, and they've supported Julian and the Culture Ball event, and a lot of our AEW stars are very active participants with Culture City. It's one of the many things I'm really proud of about AEW right now.
Well, Julian, Tony, thank you guys so much for coming out here, speaking about AEW, speaking about Culture City. This partnership is just fantastic. Can't wait to see how it continues to just grow and evolve. And congratulations to both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy Toronto.